Thank you, Chair. This has been a really rich conversation so far. Thank you. I want to raise the issue of exploitative joint ventures as part of procurement. There are obviously plenty of legitimate instances of joint ventures between Indigenous and non-Indigenous business, but we're hearing a lot about exploitative joint ventures where a non-Indigenous partner gets all of the benefit and the Indigenous partner realizes almost none of the benefit, but is tacked on in order to allow them to qualify for these set-asides. One example that we've heard about recently through a whistleblower is the Canada Healthcare Agency, where instances of fraud were actually brought to the attention of the government, and they didn't want those passed along. And what we're seeing is that joint ventures represent a very small percentage of those on the Indigenous business list, and yet they're getting a massive proportion of the contracts, especially the large contracts, which suggests that there's an instance of these exploitive joint ventures that are taking advantage of these set-asides in order to monopolize the benefit for the non-Indigenous side of the partnership. So, and even to call it a partnership is misleading. Ms. Ristoul, could you comment on the issue of exploitative joint ventures and maybe what steps we can take to address that?
Yeah, on joint ventures, there are instances where it's been very successful. There are an increasing number of First Nations who are cutting into resource development projects through equity partnership and also business partnerships or joint ventures, if you will, where it is working. It is successful. The community is a large partner in that engagement. But unfortunately, there are people who are taking advantage of perhaps a reduced capacity or capability of Indigenous parties to position themselves fairly within a joint venture, if you will, and taking advantage of those moments to advance their own interests. These are people who, as I mentioned earlier, at least in my view, believe that these programs are seen as preferential treatment, as special advantages, and ultimately want to access those for themselves for their own benefit.
Just if I could jump in to clarify, you're saying basically that there's kind of legal taking advantage of in the context of these partnerships where the Indigenous side may not be empowered to defend their rights and therefore they're getting exploited by the so-called partner. Just a brief response.
The program, yes.
Yeah, thank you.